everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the daily futures market outlook for the Big Six. This is where we put together a plan for tomorrow's trading so we can have as best of a plan of attack for tomorrow's price action, at least as the market will give us. Now, the Big Six for us are going to be the Bund, the Euro, Gold, the bonds, crude oil, and the S&P 500. Now, when we're looking at today's movement, one thing to really keep into consideration is the fact that we had the FOMC meeting minutes at 1400 Eastern. That is going to make a big difference in the way that the analysis works, because you're going to get a lot of weird chop and slop early in the morning and late in the afternoon, and then a huge amount of volatility around that news announcement. So with that volatility now out of the way, the market's going to have to kind of digest what all happened, and likely that means that tomorrow may be a little bit of a slower one. Now, before we jump into that, as always, make sure to swing it over to slingshotfutures.com, scroll down, and click on the Join the Daily Outlook newsletter. That's going to add you to our email list so that you'll never miss a beat. You'll always be notified when one of these comes out. That way you'll be as ahead of the game as possible. We also talk about different stocks and different statistics and things of that nature, so very interesting and good newsletter to have on your list. Along with that, at the bottom of the page, every single morning and every single day, you can check out the market psychology video where we rip apart one market and the psychological side of things and go into why it did what it did and try to learn as much as possible from that movement so we can better ourselves for the next trading day. And of course, we have all of our morning prep levels posted every single morning for the Big Six as well. If you haven't done it already, make sure to click on the live trade room subscription and trial info. That will sign you up for a one-day trial to the live trade room. If you like it, you can subscribe, of course, and if you want to become a member, a VIP membership comes with the live trade room as one big package, so you never have to worry about paying anything ever again. Now, looking at the overall movement, we have the Bund working its way back up to a new high, or at least attempting to. It's very, very close. Now, the overall momentum that we've had, we started off the day with a nice bullish pop higher, and then it took it all back with a big push down, two legs lower, very kind of pretty looking move down, right? You don't get very many of a move that looks like this. It's so picture perfect. That's the kind of thing that you would see in a textbook, right? You don't get that very often, but after that occurred, we had a nice rally to the upside, small little pause, and then news started hitting, and we shot back up to a new high. With that momentum up to the upside, a lot of buyers are going to be targeting that major high up here. We have monthly resistance at 162.65, major target area at 162.68, and of course a prior high of day at 162.72. The overall momentum that we're getting right now from the buyers is a little exhausted. This is a lot of bullish continuation. You can see not many bear move candles inside here, and the same goes for here. They're not really taking much of a break from this buy side. So with that in mind, the last time that happened, we went into a range for a good 2 or 3 hours. Now we're going to the overnight session. The same thing could happen where we just go into a range for the overnight session and then maybe continue that move up from there. What I would really like to see is a little bit of a pullback. I don't want to buy all the way up here. We're very near the highs already. It's not exactly the place that I want to be looking at. So, around here we do have support, monthly support at 162.55. I would really love to see them dip down, all the way below 162.50, maybe down to 162.42 would be a phenomenal area to look to jump in to become a buyer, to then try to finish the job off to the highs. Over on the Euro, big reversal off of the bottom on that news. Before that, we had a nice bear channel working its way down, really wide bear channel with a slight little overzealousness to the downside on that news, causing a big engulfing candle here to here. We broke through the lows and then popped back up through the highs, and now they're taking it all back. With this big rally higher, we have a big shot to the upside and then a nice spike in channel going in towards the top of that channel from earlier. We also have resistance sitting across at 71.81, so this whole area is very likely to find a lot of buyers who maybe bought in here or got a lucky bounce down here. They're going to be taking profit up here, and I can't really blame them. Now, that said, this isn't necessarily done. It's just that the buyers don't want to buy high anymore. The buyers are already done with the initial breakout phase. Now they're going to be waiting for a pullback to continue that drive up, and that's what I'm looking for. I want to see a pullback between 70.15 down to 69.91, so then we can continue it back up to retest those highs once again. Over on the gold, very good bearish momentum. If you ignore after the news, beautiful bearishness to the downside. All of the objectives to the downside filled. Very nice, consistent bearish momentum. Everything to the downside pointing very, very well. But right after the news, things shifted. We had a big reversal off of the bottom, a little bit of chop and slop ahead of it, and then that big engulfing candle, just like we saw on the euro, which put in a bottom support area of 45.9 to 45.4 and never looked back. Just kept ripping right back up towards the highs. Major upside objective is 59.1. They came very close, and it may be close enough. Sometimes when the market just misses an objective like that, a lot of times the market participants just say, you know what, good enough, just get out of the trade. It's not to say that the buyers are done. It's kind of the same scenario that we were just talking about. It's, buyers just don't want to buy high anymore. This is way, way too high. We have a possible little spike in channel. What I would really like to see is for them just to pull back to earlier resistance support and see if we can get a bounce there. Now, what I mean by that is this huge breakout candle. The high of that was a brick-topped candle, and that's a candle that doesn't have any wick, right? That wick, not there, right? All it is one big candle with a flat top on one edge. A lot of times the market will respond to those levels if it's a news candle or breakout type of candle, etc. But when the market came back to it from the bottom side, didn't really care too much about it. Now, that could be just because it was fundamentally driven on the news, but either way, I would really like to see them pull back to that area once again and see, hey, the sellers didn't care about it here. Do the buyers want it? That could be a nice pullback to kick off the move right back up towards the highs. Not to mention, we also have the gap fill area, major support below that, just around that 1254. Everything kind of stacking up in the same place, and it would make a lot of sense to see buying pressure coming in there to pop the market right back up again. Over on the bonds, relatively range-bound, all things considered. We had a nice movement kind of in the morning, a little bit of a bull move up, breaking a retest of the highs coming into the earlier resistance from the day prior. That's going to be at 151.29 or so. And then we started getting a nice little bearish drop. Big push down to a new low, little pop higher, and a continuation drop to a new low. And then the news hit, had a little bit of a pop higher, fluctuated a little bit, and just like gold, put in a higher low, major support area. In this case, for the bonds, it's going to be at 151.31 down to the lows at 150.27. The buyers responded very aggressively to that, shooting it up almost a full, actually over a full point to the upside off of that low and rallying up to a new top. The only thing we really have to work with, aside from just the previous highs, which are at 151.29.28 or so, is the possibility of this low becoming a channel on the highs. Drawing the two bottoms up, putting it on the highs, that gives us an area of interest up here if the market does want to continue higher. We are testing major monthly resistance in this case because we're coming from below it at 152.03, and that's also the swing high from yesterday before that drop lower. So a big area of interest here, and likely after this kind of rally, buyers are going to be taking a lot of profit off the table after going up a full, point and a quarter to the upside. So chances are we're going to get a little bit of a pullback here before we get some continuation, but either way, still looking to be a buyer. Very aggressive to the upside, and this first pullback is very likely to find more buyers chasing the move up into the overnight session. Over on crude oil, nice bearish drop lower, obviously today being inventory day. The inventories completely slaughtered all of the morning movement. We had a lot of good potential morning movement starting off here with a beautiful bull trend working higher, but the numbers came out as a complete surprise. We were forecasting with both the API and the inventories today, there was a forecast of a negative number. The forecast today for inventories was a negative 400,000 or so, and the API was saying a negative 1.8. Now, instead, we actually got a positive number of over 1 million. So just a huge difference in what people were expecting. And that caused a little bit of a surprise shakeup to the downside, leading into that drop lower. Now, that drop lower did have a beautiful little bounce there, and that led into a major market objective to the downside at 50.78. That was just completed, and we're pinging off of that right now. We also have a spike in channel, very wide one, mind you, drawing off the highs, transposing it to the lows, and you have a kill zone right there. Not only do you have a major sell side objective, but you have the bottom of the channel and everything stacking up inside of here. So chances are what we're looking for is a pullback, or in this case, a retracement, and the anticipation is that the sellers have already met their major objectives. If they do want to continue lower, it's probably going to be very grindy because no one wants to re-enter that far down, and they're just going to try to continually sell little pops. If we can get a good correction, which honestly would be healthy at this point in time, I would love to see the market come back to at least 5109, retest the earlier congestion low. That's also the gap at 5113, and a nice possible area to find sellers starting to regain traction again. Now, if they do want to really correct, obviously the sweet spot being 5135 down to 5128, but it may not pull back that far. This is a very aggressive move down, and depending on how strong the sellers feel like being, they might not let it go that far up. Either way, looking to sell, but at a better price. And then finally, the S&P, it appears as though they took the news a little bit hard. We had a nice bullish rally going into the morning session into the afternoon. I mean, the buyers just did not stop rallying to the upside. But once they found that top, 23.74 75 or so, they did not look back. And the news definitely didn't help the situation. We hit the news right there, right? This is 1400. And ever since then, it's fallen a huge amount. Looking from where the news came, where we opened up on that news bar to where we are now, it's dropped almost 30 points, okay? So it's had a big tumble off of the highs, and we're at a new low. This major move to the downside is going to open up a lot of targets to the lows where the sellers are going to be looking to take some profit, and that target is going to be 23.42 and a quarter. And that's really what I'm looking for. I want to see the sellers drive down. I want to see them hit that target, finish the move off. It might do it in the overnight session, but either way, we're getting a little bit weak down here. There's so many sellers that entered in up here, even through here, I mean, heck, even right there, that they're not really interested in selling this far down anymore. They're waiting, right? They're still in short. They haven't liquidated. Maybe they did a little bit right here, given the bouncing. But chances are the sellers haven't been given a good reason to get out yet, which means that they're still holding on to those objectives. 23.4475 is the prior low of day, which is a nice objective. I'm sure some profit taking is taking place there. We also have 23.42 and a quarter as the major downside objective. Now, if we can get a pop here, I wouldn't mind selling between 51.5 up to 54 or so. And if we could get even a little bit more out of it on a halfway decent pullback, right? See them get a really nice pullback inside that move, that would get us right back to monthly resistance, the prior day's resistance, and major resistance off the 60-minute at 23.60 half. So that's kind of the area that I would really love to sell, but chances are we're probably not going to get that big of a pullback. At this point in time, it's probably just wishful thinking. But at the moment, 51.5 to 54 is the sweet spot where I'm looking to begin at least selling to get the drive down to finish off the objective to 42 and a quarter. So that's going to do it for the outlook side of things. Now, looking at the news for tomorrow, one distinct thing really stands out here. There isn't any news for tomorrow's U.S. session. We do have Draghi speaking tomorrow morning at 3, and that's 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. But that's it, right? ECB President Draghi speaks at 3 o'clock and then nothing. So tomorrow, after today's kind of movement, may be a little bit of a weird one. We've got to play it a little bit safer tomorrow. There isn't any big news to get in the way, so we should be able to trade throughout the day without much of a problem. But that said, it is still something to keep in mind where Friday's non-farm payrolls, right? We've got unemployment, non-farm payrolls, all these big things coming out on Friday, and Thursday is a kind of a place where the market can have a calm before the storm, right? So tomorrow may be a little bit slow and a little bit calm, but keep in mind, Friday is right around the corner, and there's a lot of big stuff happening then. So like we always say, make a plan, trade the plan, follow those rules, and you'll be A-okay. Until next time, we'll see y'all then.